What's going on, peoples? I am live in living color. Go ahead and fix my stuff here. But we're gonna do this every time. I've already did a little bit of homage this morning, this dawning. I'm getting better at replacing that word. Anyway, it is 6:32 or something like that. Oh, my apologies. Yeah, 6:32. And now this wants to be funny. We'll go like this. So, anyway, I've done some homage. I've done some acknowledgement, but I still want to spend some time, just a couple of minutes, with our ancestors, breathing, and all of that before we dive into this. I'm very excited, just with all the realizations that I'm having, and so I'm very excited for you guys to just go on the journey with me. I'm learning and teaching at the same time. I've spent time with these gates before, but not as in depth with themes of my life. So this is bringing quite a bit of rapid transformation and things like that. So anyway, get comfortable. Not too comfortable, but get comfortable. Allow yourself to how are we gonna do this? This is not what I would like to be happening right now. Okay, that'll work. That should work. So yeah, get comfortable. Get comfortable. And oh my God, I have so much to share. And let's just breathe for a couple minutes and then we're gonna dive in. All right? Okay. You don't have to be like extra super postured up, but make sure your back is straight. I'm not a breath work teacher. I just naturally do breath work. I've never learned any particular courses. Just so you know. So I just go with what's natural, what feels natural to me. But yeah, real quick. With the intent of receiving whatever message we're meant to receive, that I am meant to receive today, right now, in this moment. Opening up all doorways. But first, as we continue to breathe, relaxing the body, the mind, scan your whole body from your head all the way down to your toes. And as you go, release the tension, release where you're holding, and just open yourself up to receive the gnosis, the knowledge, the wisdom, the understanding for today. Breathe and release. In the nose, out the mouth. Okay. So, wow, I think that was exactly 2 minutes. So I had more to say during that meditation, but it's okay. I love learning my design because it helps me to release, to be honest. Because the tension that I feel, the way I see it, the tension that we feel in our bodies is a result of the conditioning we've received in our bodies um, over however long it's been, um, up until the point that we learn about our design and learn how we're supposed to operate, how we're designed to operate, I should say, and all of that kind of stuff. So, as I continue to decondition from my past, from my relationships, from my upbringing, from my religious traditions, from schooling, that's a big one. All of these kinds of things, and I'm moving back into living as myself. It's crazy because it feels like it's the first year for me. Um, Even though I've done 6 years and I'm working on my seventh year since I've come into contact with the human design system or knowledge of self in a very deep way. Um, I just, yeah, it's very important. Let's just put it that way. So what I discovered in my journey as I've had these different kinds of readings and different kinds of encounters with different spiritual traditions, um, the most profound one for me um, was voodoo. I still practice a little bit of stuff, just as far as destiny is concerned for me. I've never been like a heavy practitioner or nothing like that. I'm not a priest. I'm not, any of that. Although is part of the story, but um, I was always looking for um, some kind of teacher or whatever, somebody to show me the way. And that's not really how I'm designed. I'm designed to find the way myself because I'm an innovator. I'm a trailblazer. And so I had to really accept that um, without forgetting the traditions of my ancestors and all of that stuff. That can be part of it, but I still have to pave my own way, right? So doing all this, whatever. I'm kind of digressing, but in the process of um, getting my hand of fa done. The hand of fa is a very uh, important reading that a West African person or descendant of West African people can get, especially for us here in the Americas, because it is the reading that you're supposed to get um, when you're a baby, when you're 7 days or 9 days old, depending on which traditions and what gender and all that kind of stuff. Um, Tells you everything about your life. Tells you uh, taboos that you might have, so on and so forth. Your destiny, what you're meant to accomplish in this life, what gifts you'll have, so on and so forth. Everything. Um, So I had that reading done, and I got a roots reading done. And crazy enough, like I'm still learning these systems and stuff. Um, but crazy enough, I got my hand of fa done, and I was told, among other animals, and you see these in my signatures on my Facebook posts. Um, but I was told that one of my main spirit animals was the leopard. Now, I was not aware of that, but it resonated. Um, the only spirit animals that have come to me in the past, of my own volition, just doing my own thing, um, was the owl and the eagle. The owl, this is my lapis lazuli owl here that my daughter dropped, and now it's chipped. But he's a good friend of mine. But anyway, uh, the owl, the eagle, and then I was given the duck, the panther, or I mean the leopard, and the eagle in my hand of Fa ceremony as my um, spirit animals, animals that I should not eat. Um, and he was like, I don't, you're not going to find any leopard out here, but let's say you're in the Amazon somewhere and a shaman gives you, a piece of a leopard's heart or something. I'm like, okay. He says, don't eat that. That's like eating yourself. So I'm like, okay. But I didn't feel the resonance with the leopard, right? Now, moving on so we can get to the brunt of this. Um, I was ready to have, I would say, my third major um, deep dive mushroom journey. And it was something I was waiting for a long time because I had gone a while without um, using the medicine, the entheogen, because of a taboo that I got in my hand of Fa. But we won't go through all that. Um, for those of you who already know the story, I'm gonna try to make this simple. But I finally got the chance to uh, take the medicine. So I prepared myself. I wore all white. I fasted that day. I think I might have fasted the day before as well. I'm just in preparation. I've got everything I need. I got my rugs. I got my, all this stuff. And I won't go into the behind the scenes of that, but uh, anyway, um, these mushrooms that I was using were not the normal kind that I'm used to using. And I was told that they were not going to be as strong after the fact. So I'm like, okay. So I, you know, decided to take more. Well, um, and I was doing all of this with the intent of self initiation. Just so you know this. Um, so I take the mushrooms. I think I took it in a tea, the first batch, and I kept a certain amount, just in case it wasn't strong enough. I ended up taking more than I'd ever taken, but they still weren't that strong. So I'm like, excuse me. I'm like, what is going on here? What am I gonna do? And because an hour and a half, 2 hours in, and if you've ever gone on a journey, you know that that's more than enough time to really be in the zone. Um, and I was feeling it, but an hour and a half, 2 hours in, I'm like, compared to my last experience with less, I was in the cosmos somewhere. But then when I finally realized, like, okay, when I stopped being angry, when I stopped um, uh, expecting whatever, the mushrooms, the medicine always does what it's supposed to do. It always does what it's supposed to do. There is no such thing as a bad trip. I'm a believer in that. There are only lessons. Anyway, this wasn't a bad trip or anything like that, but it was like I took just enough of this particular strain to put me inside of the chrysalis. Like I'm balled up, and I've done this before where I'm balled up in a fetal position on my prior experience, but this was different. The fact that I was wearing white, the fact that the rug I was laying on was white, the fact that the blanket or whatever you want to call it wasn't a full blanket. Can't even think of the word right now. Um, throw a blanket. Uh, the fact that that was white and it could cover my entire body, I went into this transformational stage. Um, and for quite a bit of the journey, I was just there, struggling, fighting with paradigms that um, I was holding on to. I kept trying to change the music and turn off or actually, I had the music off, but turn on the music, that didn't help. Turn off the music, that didn't help. Turn on the music again, and just I sat down and I just released, and I said, give me what I need. So, um, what happened thereafter was something I was not expecting. Um, I One of the things I've been told, as far as the leopard thing as well, in my roots reading, um, was that father's, my paternal bloodline goes back to, as far as my African roots, goes back to the Lunda people of the Congo and Angola. And I was told to uh, get a mask from the Lunda people, um, to, uh, I guess, just respect my heritage, and that it would help me. And so I did that when I was in Dallas. There's a beautiful store in Dallas, called Pan African Connection. Some of my family have been there with me, but um, beautiful place, all types of literature. I have so many books from this store, but they also have stuff that they bring back from Africa. And one of those things are masks. Oh, my, one of those things are masks. And I want to show you my paternal African ancestral mask. Look at this. This is a Lunda mask. Okay. On the top, it has a bird, and the lady in the store told me that what that means, the bird represents the woman, and I'll talk about that in a second. The bird represents the woman. Um, I'm going to go into the story, but um, there's an African story that talks about this, what bird power actually is. But let's just go out on the surface, right? The bird is an animal that travels on air. So you're talking about an air element, right? Thought. So the fact that the bird is on the top of the head, feeding thought, okay, or feeding words, because the bird is also dealing with the beak and the ability to pierce with words, right? So the bird is feeding words, feeding thought into the pineal gland of the male. But this was a um, uh, also a sign to basically say that you should always seek the advice of a woman, because women are what they are. They're the source. um, but never do anything without a woman, basically. So I go into this journey, right, and I come out of this chrysalis thing feeling like I'm a caterpillar turned into a butterfly. But instead of uh, turning into a butterfly, I grabbed this. And the music that was on at the time, I was trying to find some kind of tribal something, and uh, something I can't remember what made me type in whatever I typed in. Obviously, I was, just to put it, I was on 9 grams um, of golden teachers, or what they call the philosopher's stone. Um, and so I know that I was led to this song, right? But I played this song called The Leopard Hodari by Dr. Oba and the Drums of Ashe, I believe it is. Never heard it before, never listened to this kind of music before, but it took me. Okay. And immediately I had this mask. Now there's no strap on this, so I couldn't put it on my face, but I was literally holding this to my face, dancing, 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 dancing. Like I've never been more agile in my life. And I know that's because of the medicine, partly. The other part is it was like I was entranced. I was in a um another place. And as I danced, I felt the presence of my ancestors. I felt the presence of a new part of me, which was the leopard Hodari. And the rhythm that my body took on, like I didn't know, I've never been a dancer, never. You can ask anybody from my past, I've never been a dancer. I have rhythm, you know what I mean, but I've never been able to dance, and to have the freedom, to feel the freedom of dancing to just to a drum and some voices, the understanding of what music does as a medium, the understanding of what rhythm does as a medium, the understanding of what sound does as a medium began to come alive in me. And um, I was not sure what that was. There was one person, one. Oh, this stuff really comes together. I'm gonna just go for it. There was one person who saw or mentioned the presence of Shango in my life. Um, I'm trying to remember his name. Joel Adifon, yes, on Facebook. who's actually Beninese. Um, which is where voodoo comes from. Anyway, um, but he was raised in France. Anyway, that's my guy. But I was on one of his lives years back, and he was just picking people out in the comments and giving them, you know, prophecies and all kind of messages from spirit and all kind of stuff. And it always tends to happen to me in my life. I'm the one who, gets picked out, whether I'm in church or whatever. So I'm on the live and I'm just talking, and he didn't know me. He didn't know me at all. Um, he just called my name out, the name I was going by at that time, and one of the first things he says is, "I see Shango walking with you." Never thought nothing. I wasn't even really into African spirituality at that time. I knew of it, but I hadn't really looked into much of it. It's maybe like 2018, 2017. I think it was 2017, 2018. Um, anyway, I was like, okay, so I started to become conscious of a Shango. Then when I get my Vodun Handafa that I mentioned before, one of the things I find out is that the divinity that owns or governs my head is Ibeji. Ibeji is the twins, but Ibeji is also the children of Shango. Okay, so Shango walks with Ibeji. Shango is their protector. Okay, uh, and then later on in the process of working with the Vodun, Huno, and Babalawo, the priest, he told me that a Shango initiation would be beneficial for me, as well as other initiations. So I go into this not even looking to meet with Shango. Now, Shango is the deity or divinity or Orisha, I should say, Orisha of rhythm, the male Orisha of rhythm. So, dance and music and all of that kind of stuff. A lot of like your celebrities would be initiated to Shango. Um, I believe Usher is, and I know through my dreams more than likely Jay Z is, because I had a dream a while back about that. But anyway, um, so yeah, this is about rhythm. This is about music. This is about revolution, right? The what makes time go. Um, Shango is represented by the planet Uranus. Revolutionary energy, liberating energy, but also um, can be destructive. Shango has the lightning, that is his symbol, right? But then I find out yesterday, Shango's animal symbol is the black cat, what I already had here, and the leopard. So I'm like, okay, did I just experience a Shango initiation? Because ever since then, when I do my inner vision readings, when I'm down here just spending time with spirit, I'm dancing. I'm I'm coming into the consciousness of what Shango actually is. So then I'm like, okay, let me look at my human design chart. And I look in the planet of Shango, right? In Uranus. This is my revolutionary energy. This is my the energy that liberates me. Um, all of that. Uh Aquarius kind of energy, right? And in my design Uranus, in my body side, okay, I have gate 5 in the second line. The second line being the natural, or the hermit, or the uh, uh, guru. These are the archetypes of the second line. But the fifth gate being the gate of rhythm. So I have the gate of rhythm, this foundational principle of Shango, in my Uranus, which is the planetary correlation to Shango. And it's a second line. This is the hermit. I'm in my cave. I don't want to be Shango. I'm just doing my thing. But then the call comes. This is what happens with the second line. You are receptive to the call to whatever it is that gate uh gate's energy embodies. So I'm called to take this self-initiation route because a part of me, my revolutionary energy, the energy that liberates me, wants to reveal itself to me. A part of me wants to reveal itself to me to say, this is what you need in this time to balance out your life. Because now that I'm giving my consciousness to rhythm, I'm better able to set up the rhythm of my life as far as my schedule and my responsibilities, my work, my responsibilities at home, my responsibilities with those that I serve, with my readings and all that kind of stuff, like even or leaving time for myself to just enjoy creating some art or going to the movies or whatever, like all of this stuff that my life needs, because I'm a person of balance and I've been out of balance ever since I came out of my truck in August. And so knowing that I was going through all the things that I was going through, and now I'm here, boom, at this self initiation and receiving the necessary infusion of rhythmic energy to help me uh, rebalance my life. Like I, I, I I'm super grateful, super duper duper grateful. It's like I've um, experienced a quantum leap of sorts because I'm doing things that I simply could not do 3 months ago. Like I was just that, you know, uh, out of it. And so I'm extremely grateful to be back to the place where I have energy and, just because it was like coming off of that truck, I just slammed into a wall. No more movement for this manifesting generator. And this has given me movement, the inner rhythm, getting up at 4:45 in the morning to go spend time with spirit, getting up, to study myself, to work on my readings, because I like to work at night. Um, or at least in the early hours of the day. So like I am, oh my goodness, I'm just super grateful. So I just want to read a little bit of this. I haven't really looked at too much. I wrote down some things just to kind of go through the gate and my experience with it. Uh, so yeah, when I came out of this mushroom journey, I came out with a new name. I'm still absolutely KorothaKofe. But as they do in African tradition, when you receive an initiation, you are given a name to embody. Um, that a name that correlates to the destiny of that initiation, or this divinity coming and walking with you to change your destiny, so therefore it changes your name. So um, I'm actually kind of realizing this in this moment that I need to add this to my name some kind of way. It's a minor. KorothaKofe is the name, but Hodari. And when I say this, I'm pointing to this leopard statue over here. But um, I need to be reminded to keep my rhythm. Without rhythm, as you'll see when I go through this, um, my life is not what it could be. So I am going to read through this and let me know. Is there anybody like on here? Okay, I think that was my fault. Anyway, um, so here we go. I don't know who this is. If this one person that's on here, but let me know who you are, where you're from. If it's one of my peoples, then let me know if it's Luna, if it's Carlos, if it's uh, my mom. I just want to interact, but we'll go for it. Now this was yesterday, right? Yeah, this was yesterday. Oh, it's May 6th. Doctor Strange just came out. Oh, that was Carlos, I believe, right? Um, but yeah, this was yesterday when I came to this understand. I was just thinking about Uranus, and okay, cool. Appreciate you, man. Um, your own individual power. Personality Uranus um, is not what we're focusing on right here, right now. It doesn't really matter, but I want to focus on this particular, on the design side, because of my experience with it. But the personality Uranus meaning is the idealism that leads to renewal. Okay, the idealism that leads to renewal. This is dealing with the mind. The personality side is your conscious self, right? Renewal, and I have that in gate 9, in the fifth line. Gate 9 is about focus. Gate 9 is about details. Um, and in the fifth line, this is universalization of details, like knowing how to put it together and show everybody, um, no matter their background or whatever, the details of a thing. Okay, this is how my personality Uranus works. This is how I renew my life. The idealism that leads to renewal is through my focus on the right details. Okay, but design Uranus, the meaning is the unusual power for new things, the power of innovation. Now think about this when we're talking about the body. Okay, not the conscious self, not the mind, but the body on the design side. My body, Uranus, the programming of this revolutionary, liberating power in my body, my physical body, is the power of innovation, the unusual power for new things, right? And I have that in gate 5, the gate of rhythm, in line 2, as we talked about. So rhythm is my power of innovation. Rhythm is my unusual power for new things. This is how I completely lightning strike, like Shango, a part of my life and get rid of it and move on. Like this is like quick change, right? That's what revolution is. Quick change. So um, to think about that, to contemplate that yesterday, right? It was mind blowing. It was mind blowing. Um, so in line 2, it says the ability to ignore the temptation to take premature action. The ability to ignore the temptation to take premature action. This is line 2 of gate or gene key 5. Again, the gate of rhythm. And we're going to read about this. But that's patience. That's a drummer with a metronome knowing exactly, like, not to get ahead of the beat, right? So it's literally like my life is going through these rhythms, and if I'm not consciously in the rhythm, or allowing, I should say, the rhythm of my natural life, I lose my power of innovation. I lose my power to create new things. I lose my power to change my life drastically in a moment. Rhythm. Like, do you like uh the understanding, the understanding of that, to know that, to know consciously that as long as I keep rhythm, I can pretty much do anything or change anything in my life. Oh my goodness. And this coincides with the reading I got from my Baba at the beginning of this year. Anyway, we're going to move on. Gate 5 says, and this is from the Ravi Ching, okay? Tantric channels are about the empowerment of the self. This gate is in a tantric channel between the sacral center and the G center. So this is going from um, the power, the sexual, creative power of the sacral, to the love and identity and direction, but the love of the G center. Um, Sex and love, but the power of that. That's Tantra. Okay. I'm not an expert in Tantra, so if I'm wrong, please correct me. Um, anyway, Tantric channels are about the empowerment of the self. No other channel in design has such significance. Being in the flow, being in the flow. Now, I'm thinking about this as a quad right. Absolutely necessary that I'm in flow in my life. Let's just put that out there. Being in the flow is a universal mechanism and binds all life forms together in the rhythm of life. The fifth gate is the power to fix the pattern. It is the gate of habits, of daily rhythm and tempo. This is not about establishing the pattern through awareness. This is a mechanical gate. The role of awareness is to not identify with concepts that try to alter the natural pattern. If it is natural to eat at 7 o'clock in the dawning, nothing should be allowed to interfere with that pattern. Okay? This is part of the understanding circuit, which is collective. And because it's collective, that means that it has a keynote of sharing. So this rhythm is something that I share with those around me. Okay, those in my intimate space as a second line. But it says logical projects patterns into future in order to lead. These are kind of my notes. Logical projects patterns into the future in order to lead. Oh, because it was talking about um, how the abs. No, what was it? The sensing circuit. I'm not even going to try to remember that. I'm not even going to try to force myself. Anyway, It says because it's logical, it needs repetition. Look at a particular gate. Just go look at it and see what that gate has to do, especially if it's a gate that you have in an undefined center, or a gate that doesn't have a complete channel. But the ones in the undefined center are the major shadows. Those are past life lessons that, and we talked about this in the last video, but those are past life lessons that you need to learn, especially if you have it more than once in an undefined center in your chart. This means more than one lifetime that you have failed learning this lesson, because now you it's compounded on you, right? This is karma. But anyway, da, 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 da. Because it's scientific, it's never satisfied with answers. This constant need for focus on improvement means that you can become extremely talented in any field of endeavor. That's the yeah, bro. That's the power of this gate, or power of this channel, this circuit, the understanding circuit, because it's so logical. It's not paying attention to the patterns of the past and trying to predict. It's more projecting patterns into the future. So my rhythm, okay, my rhythm not only puts me where I'm supposed to be right now, but it begins to project these patterns into the future, because now I know, like my body, I'm unconsciously, because remember, the design or the body side is your unconscious. You don't have to try to do this. You don't, like, your body just naturally does it. So my body, as long as I'm taking care of my body, it's going to naturally be able, right? As long as it's in rhythm, to revolutionize things. It's always going to be able to become extremely talented in any field of endeavor. All of that kind of stuff. Last thing I wrote, I didn't even finish studying it, but it says insecure without natural sense of rhythm. And that's absolutely true. When I don't have my rhythm, um, it's hard to operate how I'm supposed to. Um, so yeah, so I want to kind of dig into this. We're at 48 minutes right now. Last time we did, on. Hopefully, it's not bothersome. Um, but me dancing. Actually, you know what? I can put my jacket on. Um, but yeah, that is dope how that works. I wonder. I'm curious to see your chart, bro. Beginning of the year, um, I get this reading from Baba, and he says that this year is going to be the hardest year of your entire life. What? This year you're going to learn patience. It's going to be the deepest lesson you've ever learned, but it's going to be one of those years that's also the best year of your entire life. Now, up until maybe, and this was in January, early January last year. Last year it was exactly what he said, but I learned patience. I learned patience. So it's interesting. That's the kind of the realization I'm having right now, that um, all of last year's lessons in patience led up to this Shango Gate 5 initiation. Oh my goodness. I was going to get initiated to Shango and to um, Fa or Ifa. I was told that in order to learn Ifa, or in order to be taught by Ifa, this divinity of divination and prophecy and wisdom and all of that kind of stuff, you had to be as patient as one who could watch the ant, or to be as patient as the ant, to learn the patience of the ant. So all of this patience that I'm learning last year, I'm thinking this is an initiation to Fa, and I still believe that it is. But I did not know that this would be a part of my life, where we're at now. So anyway, let's stop telling stories and let's get to the meat of this. The gift is patience. City is time. Okay. It is the fifth gene key that really forms the backbone of the 64 gene keys. Containing all the codes and patterns of life, the fifth gene key represents the great digital library of consciousness in form. These codes lie coiled and concealed within every single living cell, wound into the famous helical patterns of your DNA. The fifth gene key is also one of those gene keys that is found in all life forms, since it alone maintains the very rhythmical patterns that allow an organism to stabilize within its particular environment. Uh, Furthermore, the fifth gene key is a great mystical chess piece within the genome, since it also unites all these separate organisms into one great universal rhythm, the pulse of life. Because the fifth gene key binds all living forms through these universal patterns, grabbing my selenite and my clear quartz. Clarity. Where was I? Because the fifth gene key binds all living forms through these universal patterns, at its lower frequencies, it tends to display a deep distrust of life. This manifests in human beings through the fifth shadow of impatience. We know that all human beings carry inside themselves a deeply ingrained fear of death. What you may not realize is that there are many layers around this fear. At the level of your personality, there is your outer fear, the prime fear pattern you absorb through the events of your childhood. This personal fear, in turn, gives way to the great collective fears, for example, the fear of change. At the deepest level, however, at the very precipice of awareness, lie the most ancient human fears, and this fifth shadow represents them. These ancient collective fears stem from one prime source, the fear that there is no underlying order to the universe. If the frequency of your genetics is tuned into this fear, let me read that again. These ancient collective fears stem from one prime source, the fear that there is no underlying order to the universe. If the frequency of your genetics is tuned into this fear, no matter what you do to try to bring a sense of stability to your life, your body itself will never feel safe. This is, in fact, the normal state of consciousness of the mass of humanity. Within the fifth gene key lies the great secret of the timing of life. This gene key is about trusting or not trusting universal rhythm and natural timing. It sets the rhythms of the seasons, it fixes the timing of cell growth and decay in every living creature, and it governs all patterns of animal and human migration. As we have seen, all distrust concerning the timing of life manifests in human nature through the fifth shadow of impatience. This impatience is one of the greatest causes of disease on the planet, for it will undermine your health and well-being and cut you off from the very heartbeat of life. In a certain goodness gracious. In a certain light, impatience can be viewed by human beings as a positive trait, since it can goad you into action instead of remaining complacent. I'm going to read that again. In a certain light, Impatience can be viewed by human beings as a positive trait, since it can goad you into action instead of remaining complacent. This is a mistaken impression, since from agitation is out of harmony with the whole. There is a vast difference between acting out of impatience and acting out of resolve. Impatience is not a natural feature of human character. Rather, it is the result of a loss of your natural rhythm at the biological level. If you're feeling impatient, your breathing has become shallow and your nervous system is overactivated. Your core feeling is that all is not as it should be. Of course, this feeling is absolutely untrue. Everything is always exactly as it should be. What has happened is that you have fallen out of your natural state, the state of trust. Impatience is always rooted in the mind and, as such, is unique to human beings because of the usual nature of our neocortex, which processes information in such a way that we perceive everything as happening in time, with a past, a present, and a future. The only way to escape impatience is to escape the mind and its realm of time, which is precisely what happens at the higher frequencies of this gene key. Because remember, gate 5 is in the sacral, it's not in the mind. Okay. There is so much you can learn about the 64 shadow archetypes by looking at them through their harmonic pairings. Psychologically, you can find the root of all human issues and complexes within the 32 shadow pairings. Each of the shadow pairings is literally set up to create obsessive patterns. The programming partner of the 5th shadow of impatience is the 35th shadow of hunger. I know that intimately. These two states literally feed on each other. I appreciate you, brother. Absolutely. These two states literally feed on each other. The hunger to escape the feeling of insecurity leads to impatience and vice versa. And it is all driven by the fear of time running out. In the modern world, you can really feel this deep seated fear rippling through humanity. We have forgotten that life itself sets the pattern of evolution and that we are merely the agents of those patterns. From time to time, both in our personal lives and at a collective level, natural mutations occur when the stability of life is overturned. If you can enter deeply into the spirit of such times, you will come to realize that nothing is really out of balance and that all will reveal itself in time. Because the 5th gene key connects all life forms into a wider pattern, you have to learn to realize that nothing happens by chance. Everything is connected to everything else. So when you find yourself moving through a difficult period, it means that all life is moving through a difficult period. The themes that punctuate your daily life are universal themes that are lived out by all humans and all creatures simultaneously. If you look at the state of the mass consciousness on our planet today, you will see a universal mutation underway. Our entire species is undergoing a deep genetic quantum leap. As you come to terms with your personal fears, humanity comes to terms with its collective fears. The very fact that you are reading this right now is telling you that life is examining itself in enormous depth, and in doing so, it is discovering all manner of anomalies or glitches in its programming matrix. This is powerful shit right here. This is powerful shit. As each glitch is observed, it is deleted. Ugh. And as each fear is accepted, it diminishes. Goodness, goodness, goodness. Beneath the old genetic code, a new one is thus revealing itself. Beneath the old genetic code, a new one is thus revealing itself. In summary, this 5th shadow of impatience is nothing more than a low frequency human response to a particular set of environmental conditions. Like all the shadows, it is simply a matter of perception and attitude. Time always moves according to your perception or mood. If your breathing is calm, rhythmical, and deep, then time appears to dissolve. At the highest frequencies of this gene key, you do not even notice time. The more you become aware of your own impatience and restlessness, the deeper you begin to sink into your true center, and the less you are concerned with time and timing. This is the birth of a higher frequency, And that frequency is what we call patience. Like, even just reading that activates more and more and more patience in me, because I was like speeding through this, and then boom, I said, oh, let me breathe. This is powerful stuff. Um, this fifth gene key contains the most beautiful of equations. Acceptance equals patience, because the deeper you enter into your fears, the more patient you become. Acceptance equals patience, because the deeper you enter into your fears, the more patient you become. The repressive nature is pessimistic. It is interesting to consider that pessimism is really rooted in impatience. Oh, man. It's bothering me. Something else. Okay. It is interesting to consider that pessimism is really rooted in impatience. Okay. One of the key features of all repressive natures is collapse. If you have a repressive nature, then you have at some level moved through some kind of energetic collapse. When impatience drives a person to give up on life, it manifests as pessimism. Pessimism is nothing but the vestige of a complete loss of rhythm in one's life. It is an expression of deep-seated fear that nothing can or will ever get better. Pessimism pulls one into a downward spiral, feeding on itself over and over until it finally ends in crisis or some kind of psychological and or nervous collapse. If a person has been swept into pessimism, there is nothing proactive they can do to break free. As their friend or an observer, you must trust that life will create a crisis for them, because eventually it will. Only such a breakdown or breakthrough has enough energy to snap them out of their pattern. Hmm. Yeah. Reactive nature. This is so revealing to myself. Um, just like the last one, amazingly. But we'll keep pushing. Reactive nature, pushy. We'll keep pushing, right? The anger based version of pessimism is pushiness. This is simply a different type of nervous system, and it reacts to impatience in an extroverted manner rather than collapsing inwards. Pushy people are constantly trying to force life's flow. They push others around, becoming tetchy and aggravated, and can suddenly lash out for no apparent reason. These people also tend to manifest very inharmonious situations where natural timing is out of synchronization and nothing seems easy, as though life were deliberately blocking one's path. Even so, these kinds of natures stubbornly push on, making the situation worse and worse until something or someone has to snap in order to release the pressure. You can see how resistance to the natural patterns of life eventually brings one to a turning point, both in the repressed or reactive natures. At such turning points, the only decision is really, do I want to begin living again? Whatever a person decides, it must be respected as part of the wider pattern of life. Do I want to begin living again? Whatever a person decides, it must be respected as a part of the wider pattern of life. The fifth gift. Okay, now we're moving into patience. Okay. It says the library of light. We start to get into the good stuff here. The antidote to impatience is patience. This may sound like a very obvious truth, but it is actually rather profound. The ironic thing about patience, though, is that it takes patience to learn patience. That is so freaking true, man. Oh, so freaking true. So freaking true. What's up, baby? The mistress herself. Focus. Uh, hey, be good. Um, in other words, the more patient you become, the more you learn that patience always pays off. Wait, hold on. Let me go back. I skipped a part. The ironic thing about patience, though, is that it takes patience to learn patience. And patience can indeed be learned. It is a self proving gift. In other words, the more patient you become, the more you learn that patience always pays off, and thus the easier and more natural it becomes to wait. However, patience is not the same thing as waiting. You can wait both patiently or impatiently. Patience is the natural ground. I was just thinking about that like probably a week ago. Patience is the natural ground of your being, whereas impatience arises out of fear and conditioning. Mm. Patience is about trust. We were just talking about this. Trust in oneself, trust in one's own gifts enough. Absolutely. Yeah. Um, Patience is about trust. These two words have similar meanings. If you trust in life, you will trust life in every moment, even the challenging moments. And in so doing, you will always remain in the flow. Oh my goodness. Oh, now I got to go back and look at all my posts where I talk about patience and flow. Okay, okay. Goodness gracious. And I feel this chords here. Um, as you live your life, you may notice many rhythms all around you, and it is the underlying presence of these rhythms. Yeah, man, absolutely. Um, it is the underlying presence of these rhythms that makes you feel stable. The most obvious annual rhythm can be seen in the shifting of the four seasons. And that is what taught me. I don't want to delve off too far, but like experiencing my first winter is one of the biggest influences that taught me patience this last winter because it's the first time we lived in a winter climate. I've driven through winter climate, but I mean, I'm in and out of a storm in a matter of hours. Um, but to live in here in Utah in a winter that taught me patience. Anyway, we're not gonna go into all that because that's we talked about it before, and there's more I could say, but let's focus. Gate 9. Oh man, the shifting of the four seasons. If you are inwardly quiet, the passage of the seasons will make a very powerful impression within your psyche. So I guess I'm inwardly quiet, right? It tells us some very deep truths that spring always follows winter, for example. In your daily life, you will experience periods of winter where resources may be scarce, where you may feel lost for a while, or when you simply feel melancholy for no apparent reason. Such stages are built into life, and if you are patient, they change of their own accord and they always reveal some magic. Bruh, this dude be writing. Let's get that out the way. But that is profound, very profound. Pause this video and think about that for a second. Such stages are built into life, and if you are patient, they change of their own accord and they always reveal some magic. As a vital element of the chemical family known as the ring of light, this fifth gene key plays a profound role within your genetics. Coding for an amino acid known as 309, it determines the blueprint for how your individual cells trap light and convert it into energy. Ugh. Through the magnetism of your living aura, you draw in or limit the frequencies of light deep into the cellular structure of your body. If you live your life out of fear, magnetically speaking, you limit the amount of light that touches your DNA. The more open hearted you are, the more you magnetize higher frequencies into that very same DNA. It is only at certain frequencies. Yeah, absolutely. And you just talked about being open hearted. So this is, I mean, this shows where you're at. Oh man, I still could have got some of it. As we're reading this gift, you know what I mean? But the more open hearted you are, the more you magnetize higher frequencies into that very same DNA. It is only at certain frequencies that particular codes can be activated. When you're in love, for example, and I need to find, I know you're on here, babe. Yeah, absolutely, brother. Absolutely. Um, when you get a chance, babe, just a message from me to you live in living color. Help me find my um, that big rose quartz. I need to find that. Thank you, baby. Um, and absolutely, Carlos. Where were we? Okay, here we go. When you're in love, for example, you will always experience higher codes within your DNA awakening. Oh man, and I'm just constantly talking about this mistress and how she's awakening me, right? Time will pass differently, almost as if you were in a timeless bubble. And I was just talking about that not too long ago as well. I think I posted that on Facebook some months ago about time moving differently, um, and wondering who else is experiencing this. Um, anyway, anyone who has been in love can recognize or remember this kind of experience. Very true. The fifth gift of patience is a far greater gift than it may sound. Patience, when really experienced deep within the body, leads to the opening of your heart and the consequent turning on of a higher code within your DNA. Your DNA is a library of consciousness that is completely dependent on the frequencies of light. The body is designed to awaken to those higher frequencies, which is why humanity really only seeks one thing: to live in the state of love. The more you are able to settle into a deep trust and patience with the rhythm of your own life, the more your heart will open and the softer and more yielding you will become in your attitude to everything and everyone that comes your way. You will begin to discover a higher functioning of your DNA, a code within a code. This code is not in that makes me reminds me of like lines and then the color below the line and then the tone below the color and then the base below the tone. Like those deeper codes of our DNA are how we're supposed to operate. So, yeah, patience. And it takes patience, even as I'm doing a reading and looking at these gates and lines and tones and all that kind of stuff. Um, how much patience it takes to do a reading to map out somebody's chart like that. So, um, yeah, this is very on, um, but we'll continue. This code is not dependent on anything or anyone outside you. The state of open heartedness or of being in love is a completely natural human state. There are people in the world who live permanently in this state. The gifts that come to the patient person are not only inner quietness, but also integration. Yes. Been focused on that quite a bit lately. Integrating the lessons, just sitting with them. Yes. When you wait and allow life to reveal its natural rhythms, you also come to realize that life knows best. Hindsight shows you repeatedly that life is constructed of beautiful and perfect patterns woven into wonderful tapestries, and that your individual life follows such cosmic patterns. If you know how to wait calmly, you will realize that you are always a part of these wider patterns and that they always support you at all times, even the most challenging times. Above all, the gift of patience allows you to hear life's music. It tunes you into the subtle metronome behind your life. Okay, I'm gonna turn this heater on because I'm cold now. It allows you to breathe deeply into your belly and never feel trapped by your outer life situation. Patience smooths rough edges, keeps your heart and mind open, and makes life seem simple and easy. When you become impatient, even for a moment, you have stopped listening and trusting in the greater life. Yes, that is the truth. That is the truth. For these reasons, it is patience that has always been the true gauge and measure of the greatness of a person's soul. Yeah, which is why you would have to have the patience to watch the ants work, to work with Fa, or to work with any great spirit of wisdom and divination. Wisdom, that's a quality soul, right? We have to have patience. It's the measure of a great soul. I get it. I can just turn this page. The fifth city, timelessness, hitting the speed of being. Since the discovery of DNA and the mapping of the human genome, a huge amount of energy has gone into trying to identify and locate genes that seem to have specific links to certain diseases and illnesses. Now that we humans have cracked the code of life, our goal is to try and use it to make our lives more secure, which is understandable. However, what the shadow frequency fails to realize is that just because you can read a code does not mean that you are bound by that code. For example, knowing a child's genetic predisposition to heart disease may well end up being a double-edged sword because the very knowing increases the possibility of its occurring. If the parents respond through fear, then the frequency is indeed strengthened. At the gift level of frequency, you have just learned that higher manifestations of your DNA also exist. To live an open-hearted life is to operate at peak health and therefore to override any such genetic predispositions. However, there exists an even higher truth hiding here at the Siddhic frequency, because this Siddhic frequency is timelessness. I don't know if I read that or not. Hiding here at the Siddhic frequency, it is that all codes can eventually be transcended and are in fact designed to be transcended. This truth is momentous. What the shadow frequency views as a problem may actually be a higher genetic mutation waiting to be unlocked. Here at the highest Siddhic frequencies, codes can no longer be unlocked digitally, which means to say that the mind cannot comprehend them. Only the human spirit can unlock the deepest secrets in your DNA. It is here in the fifth city, again, that's spelled Siddhi, that the great secret known as enlightenment lies waiting. The highest code can only be awakened by the flood of high frequencies contained within the spectrum of light. This is why the ancients named the phenomenon of awakening enlightenment. The more you open yourself to higher frequencies of light, the more heightened the vibration becomes within your cellular DNA. Awakening usually occurs in a rhythmic or logarithmic pattern. That is to say that the body is periodically flooded by higher Siddhic frequencies prior to full-blown enlightenment. Oh my goodness. The distance in time between such events decreases by approximately 1/2 every time it occurs. Whoa. That is interesting to contemplate with the experiences I've been having. Okay. I'll get back to that. The body is readying itself for an experience that will alter its own functioning permanently. Every time you experience such an inflow of Siddhic high-frequency light, you move through an intense period of mutation in which any glitches in your genetic code are erased. This translates into experience as deep unconscious fears rising up to the surface of your awareness through the medium of your body. At such periods, your whole system must literally be rebooted. These times in your life can be very challenging, and you may well experience some disorientation. As it nears the Siddhic threshold, the frequency of your body will begin to approach the speed of light. It is only when your frequency hits the speed of light that
time finally dissolves and pure being is experienced. This is the higher purpose hidden in all human DNA to hit the speed of being. At the level of the fifth city, patience itself is completely transcended and something wonderful happens. You, as a separate entity, cease to exist. Impatience and patience are two ends of the same spectrum, and as such, they are rooted in the existence of time. Now, I want you to remember that this is the principle of correspondence, I believe. If I can find this book. Yes. I just want to read something to you. This is, well, you know what? We're going to do a whole nother video on this. We're going to do a whole nother video on this. The Kabbalion, on a specific, yes, on a specific principle, because I know it very intimately with my Ibeji mind or whatever. But yeah, I want to keep, yeah, I'm glad I pulled this out because I want to do that. Anyway, just the polarity that is important to remember with all of these things that we're studying. But as he's talking about here, we're talking about time, right? So once you get past impatience and patience, now you're in timelessness. So I'll read this last little bit and we'll talk about it. There's a fascinating lesson to be learned from the spectrum of consciousness. And patience is the only key that allows you to see this lesson. All beings in life are waiting. Life itself can be seen as a waiting for death. We each wait for the future to reach into us, and as it does, we see what life has planned for us. Consciousness dances through our vehicles in unique archetypal patterns. Sometimes we may find ourselves struggling in a shadow state, whilst at others we feel a deep sense of peace. Sometimes we may find ourselves struggling in a shadow state, whilst at others we feel a deep sense of peace. Our lives are like the candle flame flickering in the winds of duality, impatience to patience, fear to trust, and back again endlessly. A Siddhic state is different from this. In the Siddhic state, you have jumped out of the game. You're not identified with the candle flame. Even though it may go on flickering, you cannot talk in terms of patience or impatience because you cannot talk in terms of time or identity. This is the meaning of the city of timelessness. Timelessness is the nature of consciousness itself. It is unborn and undying. Timelessness does not care whether the body is exhibiting patience or impatience. It simply is. Timelessness is thus the death of all fighting. Patience and impatience are not absolute states. They are the poles within life, experienced through human awareness. Only timelessness is an absolute state, a Siddhic state. The nature of the 64 cities can be seen very clearly through this fifth city. These are not glamorous states, even though the words may sound captivating. Most of the cities are actually very ordinary. They occur when the set of patterns that you call yourself finally experiences itself as nothing more than a set of patterns. At this point, consciousness sees itself, and the awareness operating through you is never quite the same again, even though the patterns of your nature continue to run until you die. This great change occurs when the smaller self stops trying to interfere with the flickering of the candle flame of awareness from one state to another. In other words, when you stop trying to leave the shadow frequency, only then can the paradox happen, when there is no more fight left in you. This fifth city also shows up the problems of language. In this book, we talk about states. This is getting on my nerves. In this book, we talk about states in terms of frequency bands. A higher gift state is spoken of as having a higher frequency, and a shadow state is having a lower frequency. This challenge feeds the human evolutionary urge to achieve higher states. Because of this language, it may be assumed that a higher frequency is therefore your goal. Ironically, the acidic states cannot really be spoken of in terms of frequency at all, since frequency depends on oscillations of wave patterns within time. How then can we discuss timelessness or indeed any of the other 63 cities? The answer is that we cannot, but we can still play within the language. This is the hidden lesson of the spectrum of consciousness, that it is actually a fallacy because you cannot measure or divide consciousness. You may well be wondering by now whether there is any point in going on in this exploration of the 64 gene keys. Well, there is and there isn't. One thing is true to say: the more deeply your mind grasps the fact that you cannot do anything in life, the more you must begin to surrender both to your smaller genetic nature and your greater galactic nature. In the end, only timelessness will tell. Oh my goodness. Talk to me, people. Experiencing this as Hodari, right? As the leopard, the lone wanderer in my own life's forest, right? Experiencing this dance, experiencing this initiation, experiencing this transcendence of myself, where my body is flipping and twirling and doing things I've never done before in my life, which it reminded me of Baba Credo Mutwa's description of his initiation and how his muscles and his ligaments and all of these things, were stretched beyond what he knew he was capable of. But experiencing all of this in my body, in Gate 5, in Gene Key 5, in Uranus on my body side, and now experiencing it as I divine, this timelessness makes sense. I know I haven't necessarily reached the acidic frequency, but to understand the rhythm of life at in the way that I am coming into understanding now, I can see how, when lost in time and not even really you're so entranced that you're so entranced with pure consciousness that you don't even hear the rhythm. You're just dancing and you happen to be in rhythm. That I am grateful for. That is something that I think I'll be focusing on for years to come, unless it happens before then. But to be able to experience that on a regular basis, who doesn't want that, right? And so it just really impacts me even the more so as I think about it from that perspective. Why my rhythm in life, this place that I've gotten to, why rhythm is so important. If you have this gate, if you have this gene key in your chart, this is a place where you need rhythm. I know that you have it, Mistress Kofe, Michelle, and all your other names that I'm not going to name right now. I'm not sure about you, Carlos, and whoever else may be watching this. But if you have this gate, it's imperative that you find your rhythm. Matter of fact, Michelle, baby, I know you have that in your P Earth. So this, your rhythm will ground you. My rhythm will revolutionize my life. You see the difference, right? And yours is also in the second line, like mine is, because you're a 2/4. So, just thinking about it from that perspective, as you get your rhythm, your natural rhythm, um, this being in the collective channel, it's going to project a future for everybody around you. So for me and Mistress Kofe, for those who are watching, right, living in the same home but having different rhythms and being able to allow each other's rhythm to flow and still help one another around the house and do all these kinds of things is challenging, right? But when we're surrendered to our own individual rhythms, we're already going to be in the flow of life. We're already going to be in that state of patience and eventually into that state of timelessness. Yeah, yeah. So we're already going to be in rhythm no matter what if we're in our personal rhythms. This is how you have to look at it. When you're with a person and you guys have the same gates, like hers is in her earth, again, it's going to ground her mentally, or in her conscious mind. Mine is going to revolutionize my life, but it's literally through the working of the rhythm of my body because it's on my design side. So the actual dancing brings the rest of the rhythm of my life, brings me into the flow of, oh my goodness, I need to be dancing like every day. But the fact that I have been doing my readings and all of these kinds of things has put me into the rhythm that I'm in now. So the more I do that, right, the more I do that, the more my life will, and our life together as a family will move into where it's supposed to be. So there you go. Just let me have my headphones on because if I want to listen to some drums or some African shit or whatever, like, you know, sometimes I want to listen to something else. We got our own rhythm. I love it. I love it. I love it. I remember telling her, yeah, it does absolutely because I need the low sound and all that stuff. But um, I remember telling her just this one last story, and then we'll jump off here. I appreciate you guys sticking with me and listening to my long-winded quad rightness and stories that I probably told 10 million times before, or not. But I need to fix this. I remember telling her when we met that um, it was her flow. Like she moved around like a cat. I would always tell her that, right? Like a big cat, like a panther or a leopard or something like that. Not saying that this is, her spirit animal. It may be, um, but it was because she always had her rhythm. She always had her music playing. She was always going out to Sandaga 813. If you know where that's at in Dallas, it's a dope spot. I haven't been there just yet, but just the way she describes it to me and knowing her vibe and her taste for music and environment, I know it's a dope spot. Um, but what do you think about psychoanalysis or to understand or to avoid identifying yourself only with your shadow? I wish I could reread that. Um, can you repeat that? Because for some reason I can't see the chat. It's not like leaving it out. I don't know how to bring that up. But yeah, so she always had her rhythm. She always had her rhythm. Um And that made her beautiful to me, eternally beautiful to me. Um, and so I need her to live her rhythm. I need others who uh, have this gate to live their rhythm, because this contributes to the the totality of the world's rhythm, and us being in alignment with the seasons, and us being in alignment with nature, and all of these kinds of things. Getting in your rhythm gets you in tune with the planet. So this gate, I see why it's can be considered the foundation of all the 64 gene keys. Like, rhythm is everything when it comes to material life here on this planet. Yeah. So, you know, look into your chart, look into yourself. I still want to see what you said, Carlos, because I didn't really get to register it. But you know, this is good work. This is shadow work. This is knowledge, like head knowledge, but it's also these words specifically from the gene keys. Human design, okay. Like your shadow is expressed with the systematic process of the brain to understand reality. I realize my shadow is made of language. Is why I asked. I still didn't get it. It's like my phone is not showing to me. But yeah, I think kind of what I was speaking to right now when you mentioned language being the shadow, or something to that effect. Like, this is why I like the gene keys specifically when I'm working with my shadows, right? Because the language used here is the language of enlightenment, if you want to say, right? Like, when you're looking at human design and you look at these gates, the message, the theme is there, and it's necessary. It really is. But Ra was a very logical person, like very left brain, or left oriented person. So, and strategic about how he wrote different things. He didn't really write with flow, if I can say that. So, um, the way he expresses things is kind of, for some people, difficult to understand, although it is necessary. But the gene keys, the language of it, um, is the language, like I said, language of enlightenment. The words he uses are words that are visually stimulating to show you these shadows of these gene keys. This book really came out of contemplation because Richard Rudd was one of Ra's first students with human design. But Richard Rudd was more of a mystical, right-oriented type of person, and so in his own contemplation of the gates, he came up with this greater revelation. I don't want to call it greater, but deeper revelation of the gene keys. So, it's through contemplation, it's through experience, it's through whatever other means he utilized. But it's a powerful book, and so that's why I like the language here. I think language is very important with how you deal with your shadows. If that's basically what you're saying. Like, I'm trying to remember what you said about psychoanalysis, but all of this is important. Like, the fact that we're just putting it in our minds in the first place is deprogramming and programming in and of itself. The fact that we sit with it and contemplate it, I'm going to contemplate this way more because I wanted to actually read more of this last night to be able to, dream on it and contemplate on it this AM before I jumped on, but it didn't work out that way, but I'm still satisfied. But as we're contemplating these things, like, this is where we program the mind, right? Like, my shadow is made of words, made of language, because language does not express the whole soul. Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And that, that's kind of where we're moving towards, especially come 2027, when we, as more autistic children are born, according to the human design things that Ra talked about in the raves and all that kind of stuff. Um, you know, this precursor, not communicating through language. People think that autism. I was just reading something last night where this woman who is autistic, and I totally understand, as well as Mistress Michelle Renee, that autism is not a bad thing. It's not something to correct. But I was watching this or reading this thread. I'm gonna say this and be done. I was reading this thread um, last night where a woman who's autistic was replying to a post um, about autism being like, some bad thing or whatever. And she's like, y'all don't even realize, like, we're on a whole nother level. Like, not even, she wasn't trying to be elitist or nothing like that, but she kind of sounded that way. But she was basically trying to say we communicate in a different, there's nothing wrong with us. Like, so when these children come, right, and I'm bringing this back to what you said, when these children come, according to human design, our evolution, basically, they won't communicate verbally. They communicate in a completely different, because they're not communicating through emotion. They're communicating on a whole different sphere, a whole different dimension. And if we're tapped in, and I'm trying to get back to my point because I have these long roads to things. Um, about language, yeah. When in the future, the more we're able to communicate without language, the better off we're going to be in relation to the future that's coming. That's basically what I'm trying to say. Um, my apologies for my digressions and all that, but this is how I'm built. But yeah, so I definitely think the use of words or the fasting from speech can be something, and I've done that before, can be something that is beneficial moving forward. I definitely think that using words as I use them to share with others and to help enlighten others are important, because how do we come to these realizations unless we learn these things, or unless we go within ourselves and these things are revealed? That's the better way. But to help others, this is what my gift is, to share my understanding, my understanding, my gnosis of the way life works, utilizing the system of human design and the other things I'm studying, and gene keys and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's beneficial in both ways. I think we are. I just made that post yesterday or day before about traditionalists and trailblazers, how we need both. I really believe that. I really believe that. And so those who don't speak and those who do speak, or those who self-initiate and those who go through the official process, or whatever the case may be. But our indigenous consciousness is coming back. I was watching Brother Youssef, if you follow him, talk about that, and he's talking about the matriarchal energy coming back. Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely agree with that. So you want to look him up. New Life Tools, NULYFE Tools. I believe that's his YouTube. Oh yeah, it's absolutely happening. Absolutely, I can feel it when I walk outside. I smell it in the air, and this revolutionary energy. Yeah, absolutely, she's coming back. And that's what's powerful about it, is that this revolutionary energy that's coming is a matriarchal energy. So we're talking about, as Brother Yusef was talking, because I completely agree with what he said. He said this energy we've been in, specifically, I'm going to say through human design terms, the last 412 years, but it's been before that. But the last 412 years was a quad right era, the most masculine of masculine eras, from 1615 to 2027, right? But when 2027 hits and we go into a quad right era, okay, we're going into complete feminine, like the most feminine of eras. So this energy is yeah, absolutely, and other dates too. But what I'm speaking about is like the gates changing. I don't, and I'm sure when it comes to like there are dates all over the place. Um, the Mayans knew all type of stuff. Like yeah, absolutely. But when we're talking about 2027, we're talking about the variables or the four main gateways, if I can say it this way, the four main gateways that we that consciousness enters into the earth in, as far as reincarnation is concerned. This is the way I see it. I don't know about any other human design people that want to use technical terms, but these four gates are the most powerful gates when it comes to the cyclical patterns of the earth. So this shift that's happening, there's coming then the age of Aquarius in 2439, I believe it is. So we're not yes necessarily there yet, but this age, right, is the last age before the age of Aquarius. This age is still a Piscean gate. We're still in gate 55, or we'll be coming into gate 55 in 2027. Yeah. So, and gate 55 is a Piscean gate. So we're still in the Piscean age, last 400 and some odd years, right? But even though we're still in the Piscean age, this is the absolute most feminine of all of the ages. So the matriarchal energy is coming, it's going out with a bang as far as like the destruction of the patriarchy and the masculine ruling, or overruling, I guess you could say, the feminine. So 2027 is like 100% like feminine love energy. This last 400 years was more, and this is what Brother Yusef was saying, was more based in fear, strategy. I'm afraid of, I got to survive, so I got to plan ahead and da 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 da. Where we're going, there will be no more I need to plan ahead. This is all about flow. It's all about flow. It's all about flow. You can't plan. You're just going to be moving with life as it naturally moves. Yes. So that, and that's what I'm saying. Like, it doesn't mean you can't prepare, but to move in fear is the absolute opposite of the type of mindset or being or state that you need to be in. The state of patience is extremely important, because the state of patience leads to flow. The state of patience leads to rhythm. It's extremely important for where we're going in 2027. Extremely important. This entire what we live in is the epitome of impatience, right? Everything's microwave. Stop using the microwave. Stop expecting products to work fast. You got to start using the natural stuff, the stuff that works over time, the stuff that goes deep down inside your pores, the stuff that heals you and cleanses you slowly but surely, the herbs, all of these kinds of things. This is where we're going. It doesn't mean that there's going to be complete destruction everywhere and blah, blah, blah. For some people it will, those people who operate in fear, but those people who operate in patience, in flow, there is no there's nothing that can really stop you at that, because the earth is literally, the earth and the cosmic forces are literally going to protect you because you're in the flow and the rhythm of life, because you're patient and you allow the messages to come when they need to come. You allow yourself to feel like shit. You allow yourself to sit in joy. You allow yourself to all of these things. Patience, being in flow, rhythm. Like, I see why as I'm speaking, why this particular experience has happened to me at this particular time. Being one who's future oriented. So this is not just about me and my rhythm of my life, but this is, again, a collective, like he said in here, a collective energy that when you start to feel it, you know that everybody else is getting ready to start to feel it. I think the future is going to be beautiful. I think it's going to be full of love and peaceful, and you know, I can send you the post that the prophetic word that I was given in 2017 about that. But it's going to be balanced. It's going to be balanced, and I'm really grateful. I'm grateful for where I'm at, where we're at. Absolutely, living souls, sovereign, and not having to fight for human rights. Just be living our human rights. I'm excited. I'm excited, and I'm excited for all of us. So yeah, we're gonna end it there, and I will let you guys know probably on Facebook, because that's my central hub as of right now. But I'll probably be sharing on Twitter and all that stuff. I'll try to put all this stuff in the comments later. But I will let you guys know when the next one is coming up. And also working on some other stuff. If you need a reading, email me at KorothaKofe at Gmail. I love you. At gmail.com, KorothaKofe at gmail.com, for a human design reading, for an inner vision reading, all of that good stuff. Yes, sir. And then if you just want to donate or commission some artwork, some literary work, and all that kind of stuff, just go to my Kofi, which, Kofe. Hey, Mom. I didn't know you were there. I love you. www.kofi.com/KorothaKofe, and you can donate there. I really love you guys as I love myself. I pray that we all develop this sense of rhythm. I pray that we all can live the archetype of Shango and Oshun, which is the feminine embodiment of rhythm in the Yoruba tradition, but to revolutionize this earth. So I love y'all as I love myself. Talk to you soon. Peace. Zika. Yeah, that's funny. I'm such an old man.